Assalamu alaikum everyone. This is Haisam Javed with yet another very interesting lecture of O-levels and IGCSE Pakistan studies. In our last video, we learnt about the impact of Aurangzeb's policies on the decline of the Mughal Empire. In today's lecture, we will learn about the impact of weak successors on the decline of the Mughal Empire. The Mughal government depended upon the personality and character of the ruler. The first 6 Mughal emperors were men of ability and strength, but Aurangzeb's successors from Bahadur Shah I to Bahadur Shah II were mostly worthless and pleasure-seeking. The affairs of the government thus went into the hands of the corrupt ministers. This naturally gave rise to chaos, intrigues, and corruption, which in turn produced administrative confusion. But the question is, why were the successors of Aurangzeb so incapable? I believe it was because of the absence of uniform law of succession. As such, the death of a king resulted in infighting among the successors. Such struggles for the throne had a very devastating effect on the stability of the government. As the successors of Aurangzeb were wasting time and resources fighting amongst each other, it was the right time for other nations to exploit this disunity. Moreover, I also believe this criteria of fighting battles to become the king was not the best method, because even if someone is good in the battlefield doesn't mean he would be a good ruler too. Hence, it led to incapable rulers who lacked statesmanship skills and interest in ruling the empire. So, the infightings led to the incapable rulers, and incapable rulers led to the weak administration, which resulted in an ever-growing gap between the rulers and the ruled. Except for the early Mughals like Akbar and Jahangir to some extent, no sincere and positive step was taken by others to bridge this gap. Consequently, mass popular support, which was so necessary for the stability of the kingdom, was gradually disappearing towards its last days. One of the most important causes of the downfall of the Mughal Empire was the degeneration of the army, which I believe by its origin and composition was defective. The Mughal army consisted mainly of soldiers recruited by high officers and the nobles. They were assigned revenues of large tracts of land for their maintenance. There was no bond of closeness between the emperor and the individual soldiers. As the later Mughal emperors were weak, the powerful nobles began to convert the soldiers to maintain their own power. The military inefficiency of the Mughals was exposed by the failure of Aurangzeb's campaign against the Marathas, which we saw earlier in the last lecture, and also the military expertise declined because of infighting of the successors. This decline of the army contributed to the decline of the Mughal Empire. So let's develop the understanding once again. Absence of law of succession led to infighting among the successors. Infighting led to incapable rulers. Incapability of successors led to the gap between the ruler and the common man, and hence weak administration and further decline of military. As Mughals were not able to defend themselves and maintain the vast empire, many provinces became independent. This happened due to the decline of nobility of the mansabdars. Now, who are the mansabdars? Mansabdari was the main institution of the Mughal Empire, which included both civil and military sectors of administration. The system was developed to create a centralized administrative system as well as creating a large force. Mansabdars and their large forces were used to expand the empire and administer it effectively. Later, the mansabdars became highly powerful at court, and some of the later Mughal rulers found it extremely difficult to control them. For example, Alamgir II was assassinated by powerful courtiers. During Aurangzeb's time, the Mughal Empire had become so vast that it was practically impossible to govern it from one center under medieval conditions of transport and communication. The far-flung provinces were difficult to manage from one central point. As a result, they suffered from maladministration and misgovernment. Under the successors of Aurangzeb, the central control upon the provinces became further weak. Taking advantage of the weakness of the later Mughals, many ambitious provincial governors declared their independence. For example, during Muhammad Shah's reign, Ali Vardi Khan became independent in Bengal in 1720. Nizam ul Mulk proclaimed himself an independent ruler of Deccan in 1724. And after 1748, civil wars broke out, and more provinces, including Sindh, Gujarat, and Awadh, broke away. The Marathas had won their independence long before this time. Next, they started to establish their supremacy over the Mughal provinces and later on sought to bring the entire country under their domination. And so was the case in Punjab with the Sikhs as well. So in this lecture, we discussed about the ineffectiveness of successors and how it led to the decline of the Mughal Empire. Next up, we'll discuss how the rise of Marathas and Sikhs contributed to the decline of the Mughal Empire. Thanks for watching. Take care. Allah Hafiz.